Hey everybody, it's Brett Tadlock, TN Artist. So Rebelle 6 has come out, and I thought I would kind of show you a little side-by-side comparison, so that way you can see some of the differences, and kind of maybe answer that question, should I upgrade to Rebelle 6? Okay. And basically just try and give you some extra information so you can kind of see the differences between the two and see if you want to make the decision. They are running a special if you have Rebelle 5, like say you just recently bought it when they were doing their 10-year anniversary and you bought it for $10 and you want to, see about maybe going up to Rebelle 6 and you're trying to figure out, well, okay, is it worth it or not? They are running a special where if you have Rebelle 5, then you can move up to Rebelle 6 for half price. Okay, so there is, they are trying to do some incentives there. And I know for some people, I've heard some pushback here and there that's been kind of frustrating that they've did that and then they released this, but they were working on, in all fairness, they were working on this for a while. So yeah, so there's just kind of some stuff here. So I've got this laid out and I'm doing a side-by-side comparison here. So that way, hopefully this will be a little bit easier to see. And if you have questions about it, make sure and leave them below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So right now you can see I've got the tool set up pretty much the same. So the color sets and everything else that you can see here, these are the default color sets. And for the most part, these are the defaults in Rebelle 5 and Rebelle 6. Canvases are set up the exact same, 150 DPI at 8 by 10 inches. So that way we can take a look at it. I don't know why this one, for whatever reason, Rebelle 5, I'm getting the spinning icon of doom. So I don't know if that's just because of my recording software or what, but anyway, I'm going to try and do this the best I can. So looking at the brushes, first off, right now I just happen to be on default the ink brushes because I wrote this up here so you could tell which was which. And one of the things you can see right off the bat is that here you have the default ink brushes for Rebelle 5, and here you have the ones for Rebelle 6. So you definitely have a lot, not a lot, but you have a few more options here than you do here. So just some different ones. And these are actually the brush heads on here. I didn't notice, but I may have gone, these may be some ones that I was playing around with. But pretty much you've got a few extra brushes here and here. Okay. One of the things that you'll notice as far as other stuff is that things like the airbrush stayed the same. But you'll notice right here on Rebelle 6, there is an extra icon. This is where you can keep, like, let's say there's some brushes that are just your go-to brushes. These are the ones I use all the time, and these are the ones I want to access quickly. You can now save them as favorite brushes. Okay. Excuse me. Sorry. I'm trying to fight off a cold. But now you can save them here as your favorite brushes, so you don't have to keep going back and forth and like switching as much to, oil brush, pastel, and so forth. You can just have them all here and use. So that's kind of cool. I like that a lot. But then, like I said, airbrush, basically the same. Marker, you've got, again, extra ones that are built in here now. So you can have some different ones set up to where you can go in and use them. Makes it a little bit quicker and easier to use. The pastel brushes, you have a lot more. So notice here you have this pastel brushes here. Here you have a lot more, like, so the dry, you have the oils, you have the scrape, which I've not used all of these yet. You have the texture, so you can get things like, dust. You can get things like, patterns and scrapes, and like if you're scraping across and all that kind of stuff. And then of course you have the default ones that were the same as what came with Rebelle 5. Okay, so you have a number of brushes that are extra here, which in my opinion I think that's really neat, because especially if you like getting different textures and messing around with pastels, then you can do. So the pencil brush, let's take a look at it. As you can see, you've got the pencils here, you've got the charcoals, the dry media, the scratches, and the digital. So here you've got the pencil, the charcoal, the digital, the dry media, and the scratches. Order's different, but for the most part, those look fairly similar. One thing I did notice about Rebelle 6 versus 5 is that Rebelle 6 does seem to be operating smoother. It seems to not be having any lag issues as much, or not as much as Rebelle 5 for my system. And I've got a pretty decent system. So again, here's the inks, and let's jump over to the watercolor. So the watercolor, we've got these right here. And let me drop, we can see all of these. Okay. So you've got, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And over here, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Granulation being one of the big ones. So like, for example, if you're wanting to throw in maybe some stuff that looks like a salt pattern or something like that and add a little granulation to it, you can do that. Kind of lay out some interesting effects and give you that. So you definitely got some different ones here. Okay. The spatter brush, fairly similar. So I think you've got pretty much the exact same ones there. The Rebelle 3 originals are the same here, and they're the same here. The Sumi, I believe, is all the same as well. Gouache is pretty much the same, and then watercolor itself, you've got the same. Now these do, I did notice these act different. Okay, so they have a little bit more fluidity to them. So there we go. So we've got some water running down, flowing a little bit more here and there. So fairly similar, but these do seem to go a little bit deeper, richer, and nicer, just smoother across it. Switching over to the express oil brushes, the acrylics and express oil. Now I've got my set here that you can get on Gumroad if you want all my custom brushes. I have not uploaded them into my version of Rebelle 6 because I just got it today. But you got ones here, like you've got the round, you've got the flats, the glazes, the grunge brushes, and some of the other opaques and some specks and stuff. So you've got a number of extra brushes in here that I think are going to be really fun to play around with. I'm getting a little bit of hesitation here, but that's, again, I've got two different ones open and I'm recording, so that I'm not surprised by it. So, but yeah, you can see some different ones that you have in here. Instead of just like these, you've got several options more in here. So it's really kind of cool. And then the oil brush, you've got, all of these here. And of course, some of my new ones. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, with the addition being the grunge brushes right here. Okay. So I'm kind of looking forward to playing around with these some more. I've already played around with it some. I was doing some beta testing and messed around with them a lot in that. So again, more brushes. So you've got that going for you. You've got favorites where you can save your brushes and have quick stuff to do with it. And on the core, that's some of the same. Now this is 5 Pro, this is 6 Pro. So in this, that means I've got the color pigments, and it means that I can do nanopixel exports for both of these. So that's one of the big things with it. I can definitely go in and change stuff around. And, as far as making custom brushes, this does seem to have a more dynamic brush creator, editor. So you can go in and mess around with that quite a bit more and do it. So you have a more robust brush engine in 6. And one of the other things that I think is really important to see is that with Rebelle 5, you can select stuff, and then you can press T, and you can, drag it around, contort it, and do it. But you have very basic transformations. This is one of the areas where we have a huge difference in Rebelle 5 and Rebelle 6, is that now not only can you grab it and do, transforms, like if you want to. So you got here, and you can do different standard transforms here, but you can also click here now on warp, and it'll take a second for it to load because I'm doing 2 different ones, but it'll load up, and now you can really push and twist and move this around and do a lot of different things here. Okay. So between this, with the warp and stuff that you've got here and some other stuff I'm going to show you here in a second, you've got a lot more capabilities to really create dynamic artwork and play around with it. So like you can take, if you say, for example, you've got a watercolor diffusion that you like, but you want to have it stretch out, maybe get this more, a little bit more abstract or move stuff around. Now you can do that with the warp tool. You can also jump up here, the smudge tool, and you'll notice right here, this is one of the big things. Notice that all you have are smudge brushes here, but now with the smudge tool, you've got all these different options. Okay. So like you can do liquify twirl and really kind of play around. You can do push and really, again, stretch and pull and twist and move stuff around. You can do pinch and really kind of pinch it in. The one thing I do wish that they would fix on this is that you have to move the brush in order for it to pinch. I like it if you've ever used Procreate, you just kind of hold it and it just kind of pinches and keeps pinching while you've got it clicked. So I think that's pretty neat. So expand, again, get some really cool effects and playing around with it, and then liquify, so you can really move some stuff around. Sorry if you hear my doggo barking. She decided that she wants to be in the video. So as you can see, you can get some really neat effects here now with the liquify. So these are some of the biggest changes to the entire process. And then of course you've got the standard smudging that you had before, which to me it kind of lags a little bit, but that again can be because we're recording. But you've also got more smudge brushes. So like if you wanted to have a spiky brush, you could do that. For things that you can mess around with here. So like, this one spiky one here gives you some interesting looks to play around with. But as here, I don't have much that I can do with moving stuff around. So I just have the standard smudge. Not bad, but again, if you're wanting to kind of go to that next level of doing stuff, something to think about. Okay, the blend brushes, pretty much the same. All right, stamp, pretty much the same as well. Eraser, it's kind of the same. There's a few additional brushes in there, and same for the fill, same for the color picker, the water, and all these. Those kind of stayed the same. So it's really some of this stuff that's been the biggest one. So there's, again, if you want to create more dynamic and have more control, kind of the almost the love child between Photoshop and Rebelle 5, Rebelle 6 is that. If you're someone who is beginning and you already have Rebelle 5, the only reason I might say to upgrade would just be for the savings that you can get on it right now. If you're still beginning, Rebelle 5's plenty. If you want to go ahead and just jump all in and go Rebelle 6, you can't go wrong. It's really good. So that's some of the basic stuff. And then up here, of course, one of the other things I wanted to show you is up here with the filters. Now notice you've got brightness, hue, color, desaturate, white, alpha, blah, blah, blah. You come over here, you now have Gaussian blur, lens blur, and sharpen. So you have a lot more going on, okay, than you had before. So that Gaussian blur and lens blur and all that is huge. I know for me, I want to be able to select certain areas and blur them out and soften them, especially if I'm trying to do a fade in the background or something like that. So that's really huge, being able to do that. You can still, of course, export to Photoshop and play around. You can also do different things with layer masks and stuff now, and playing around with those and creating different masking opportunities for that, which I'll go into some of these later on. So there's even more stuff here. And of course you get into other things like fractal saving and stuff like that. So you've got a lot of other background stuff that you can do as well with it. So Rebelle 6, really big updates, some really cool things that are going with it. I don't want to make this a huge long video, but I did want to show you some of the core stuff that I think for somebody could be a reason to do it. And some of those things with the brushes, with the transform, the rippling and smudging and all that. There's a lot of different things there that could really make it worth it. So hopefully this helped. If you have questions, let me know. Like I said, I didn't want to make this really long, so I'm just going to keep it at 15 minutes or so. And that way you can kind of see, but I hope this gives you a decent side-by-side comparison. So that way you can kind of think about what you want to do. I think Rebelle 6 is worth it. I got to beta test it, and it's definitely worth the upgrade. So, but again, that's more for me. I'm more of a professional artist as far as like doing a lot of stuff to help others or teach or create my own prints and that kind of stuff. So, you know, you got to make that decision wherever you are. Anyway, leave me questions, comments, thoughts below. Share the video if you need to, if you want to. And I hope this helped. Take care. Have a fantastic day. Subscribe if you're not. Do all the things. You know, subscribe. Visit Patreon. Blah, blah, blah. Thanks, guys. Gals. Everybody. Bye.